Today on WAtv News, we travel over to Aquascapes to talk to the pond guy. We give you some safe driving tips, and we update you on some recent IHSA news. Ladies and gentlemen, WATV starts now. Good afternoon, Wheaton Academy. I'm Zach Gardner, and welcome to our second episode of this second semester and our 26th of the year. Even with the pandemic, Wheaton Academy has found a way for students to get involved, all thanks to Student Council. Tyler Abram reports on the direction Student Council is taking this semester.
Student Council events are always widely anticipated and looked forward to across campus every year. But events are bound to look different this year with COVID-19 restrictions. We have already had homecoming in October, and the Nativity drive-thru and the zoo event in December. But what is coming up next from Student Council? Currently, there are no planned events, but they are brainstorming new ideas. There is potential for more pop-ups like they did last semester, around Halloween and finals week with the kettle corn. But nothing is set in stone. It's a difficult year to plan events, but Student Council remains optimistic about the possibility of such events like Junior-Senior making a return. Student Council had their first meeting last week, Thursday, January 28th. And right now, we'll know more soon. I'm Tyler Abrams, WATv.
Student Council is always planning and brainstorming for the next Wheaton Academy event. Thanks for that report, Tyler. There's been a lot of questions surrounding whether or not sports will have a season this year or not. Reporter Kenna Tolman has more.
Since early March 2020, the coronavirus outbreak has forced the cancellation or postponement of most high school sports in Illinois. The IHSA Board of Directors met on January 27, 2021 to set a schedule for sports to restart.
All of the sports seasons are going to be condensed. And so your traditional winter sports, most of them are playing out right now. And most sports this year are going to have a 6 to 7 week season.
Even though seasons this year will be shortened, both coaches and athletes are grateful to have the opportunity to play.
So with the IHSA's update, this means that WA athletes get to take the field again. We were really thrilled that a number of the fall sports got to compete, but for those sports that got postponed from the fall to the spring, and even last year's spring sports that got canceled, that means they'll get to take the field or take the court.
I genuinely did not know what was going to happen just because news were constantly changing that we were going to have a season, then we weren't. So honestly, I'm super duper thankful just to have a senior season this year.
The IHSA has put COVID precautions in place to make sure athletes are able to practice and compete safely.
We're distancing where possible, wearing masks. And I believe, I'm not sure about this, but I believe the IHSA is going to have some pretty strict guidelines as well for what it means to be able to play safely. So we'll abide by whatever guidelines are out there.
Although things will look different for fans, the live stream team will be broadcasting every home game to Wheaton Academy's YouTube channel. From WATv News, I'm Kenna Tolman.
Thank you, Kenna, for sharing that information with us. We're very excited to see the light at the end of the tunnel for Wheaton Academy sports. Reporter Peter Canaris highlights the father of WA senior Blake Whitstock, nicknamed Pond Guy, who has over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Aquascape is a local company that is known globally for their world-renowned ponds. A Wheaton Academy dad named Mr. Greg Whitstock, also known as the Pond Guy, has not only a successful business, but a successful YouTube channel that boasts 186,000 subscribers.
I decided that I wanted to start a pond building business after I got my first real job. I was a lifeguard before that, working at a 9-to-5 job at an office. And I realized quite quickly I didn't like sitting in a desk, and I didn't really like being told what to do. I was kind of always an entrepreneur mindset. And so I'd heard that when you find something you love to do, you never have to work another day in your life. And I love turtles, fish, and frogs from the time I was a little kid. I built my own pond in 1982, and so in 1990, I decided I was going to build ponds. And it took me about a month into my first real job to realize I could build fish ponds and turtle ponds for other people. I figured if I built one pond a month that next summer, I'd make more money than working for somebody else. And I ended up building 5 ponds in 3 months, making $21,000 in sales and clearing $11,000 in profit. So my business was a good idea.
A big takeaway you can get from Mr. Whitstock is stick with what you love. He stuck with what he loves and now is building ponds for people like Shaquille O'Neal and YouTube star Logan Paul. If you're interested in aquascape or just ponds in general, head over to aquascapeinc.com. And if you want to see the process of how Mr. Greg Whitstock builds ponds, check out his YouTube at Greg Whitstock the Pond Guy.
With below freezing temperatures and a significant amount of snow, Tegan Allison gives us the weather forecast for the week.
Thanks, Zach. As you can see, that snow that hit us pretty hardly over the weekend is now in the Indianapolis area. But not for long, since we're getting another system that is now in the Salt Lake City area. It will come later on this week. As you can see, temperatures this week are going to be below freezing. We have a little bit of sun left that will come later today, but then, as I was talking about that snow in Salt Lake City, it's coming in Thursday and Saturday, so be prepared for that cold weather. Today, it'll be around 14 degrees with a bit of sun that will melt some of that snow, but it will turn into ice later on this week. We are going to have another cold weekend with a low of -15 on Sunday. We're going to send it over to Tyler Abrams for a report on safe driving in the snow.
The cold front that passed through last weekend left a lot of wet snow and ice that could impair drivers on the road. We talked to Mr. Thornton for more info on how Wheaton Academy is managing this snowfall and how student drivers can stay safe on the road.
We have a faithful snow removal team here on campus that does a phenomenal job making sure that the parking lot is clear and capable of being driven in. However, we do acknowledge that even with the sun out and things melting, there will be icy conditions at times.
Mr. Thornton also gave the student body some advice on how to drive safely in the parking lots.
And my plea to you is to drive slowly, to be alert of what the conditions are like, and to be ultra conscientious of the fact that there are people walking in the parking lots so that you don't slip when you're driving.
Mr. Burek also provided his advice on how far away from a motor vehicle you should be when driving in icy roads.
And I would say one of the first pieces of advice I would give you is do not sit on top of someone else's car while they are driving it. I've seen you in the parking lot do these things, and it is dangerous, and I care for you and love for you, and I don't want you to get hurt. Okay, make sure you give at least 5 car lengths of space between you and the person in front of you. Last winter, I saw an accident firsthand where someone tried to hit the brakes, but they just kept sliding and sliding until they were in an accident.
All the ice and snow that's formed on the roads from this past weekend, it's important to stay safe and pay attention when you're on the roads. I'm Tyler Abrams from WAtv.
Last week, a local Bloomingdale hotel made national news when a mass shooting involving more than 100 people in it left one person dead and several others wounded. Indian Lakes Hotel is now looking at the possibility of being shut down completely as village officials consider revoking all of its licenses. Happier news, Disneyland Resorts announced yesterday that the California Adventure Park will be reopened to guests in March. Although the state of California will not allow the park's attractions to reopen, Disney said they will still offer guests the options of foods, beverages, merchandise, and carefully crafted entertainment experiences.